Now, a large problem that I see with a lot of martial artists is that they learn how to throw the side kick from here all the time. Whether it's step up side kick as it's called, step up side kick, step behind side kick, slide, whatever the technique is, they stand completely sideways to throw the side kick. If you get used to that, and then you have to be somewhat angled to your opponent or be forward when you throw the punches, how are you going to throw the side kick if the only way neurologically you know how to throw the side kick is from here? Okay, so in your mind, I either come here to throw a powerful side kick, or I come here to throw punches and maybe a front kick or something like that. Okay? So you have to learn to throw a side kick from this stance. Okay, because if you're going to go from this stance, you're going to have to either follow that side kick up with a back fist, or maybe a hammer fist. Okay, the rear leg cannot reach very well from here, from this stance. It really cannot. So the side kick needs to drop here for that rear hand to reach. Okay? However, if you're used to fighting from here, that side kick will come up, you will bring it back down here. Neurologically, it's very difficult to start from here, throw that kick, and then come here. Okay? And then start from here again. So you have to learn how to throw your kicks from the punching position. You have to learn how to throw from punching position. Doesn't matter if it's from a rear hand, doesn't matter it's from the front hand, but you have to learn how to get back into the hand striking position, and you have to know how to get out of it. Okay? Explode from it and come back to it. Now, to be able to throw your side kick following the hand techniques, not only you have to be able to do it from the hand striking position, okay, not only that, you have to be able to do it from the weight on a front leg position. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, here I'm prepared to use my hands. Okay? So here I'm prepared. That's one thing. The other, of course, is once the punches are thrown, the weight is on the front leg. Okay, you have to be able to get that leg under you, bring the weight over it, and quickly go forward with the mass on the kick. Okay? So the basic drills, of course, you're going to fight in stance, shift the weight forward without the punches yet. Rotate, and as you rotate, the weight goes on this leg. It's not 1, 2. It's boom. The second you rotate and bring this leg in, okay, the weight goes right over it, knee comes up and you go into the kick. Okay? So that's something that has to be practiced. You can practice it against the wall, you can practice it in front of the mirror, you can do it against the target. Okay? So, let's say I'm doing it against the wall. I'm here. Okay, I know I can punch from here. Okay? Same thing on that side. Once you can do that, you would add the punch. Rear or front hand. Okay? Well, let's say I'm doing the same thing with the front hand. Okay? Now we can take that a step further and take a stance that obviously favors the weight on the front leg, the front stance. Okay? So here we are in front stance. Okay? And you want to be able to throw a side kick with the front leg. Okay? Before you do that, you have to know where your target is. Okay? Once this leg turns here, you have to realize that the target is in this line. It's not lined up with the front leg. It's lined up with the rear hip. Okay? So here, I know that in my mind the target is right here. This is where my front leg is. This is where my target is. Okay, I don't try to strike this target. It's over. Okay, so leg turns, throws a kick, come back in the front stance. Turns, throws a kick, come back in the front stance. Okay? If you can do it in the front, from a front stance, especially a very deep front stance, where you have a lot of weight on this leg, you know that you'll be able to, in sparring, during the punches with the weight is transferred forward, throw that side kick. Okay? So basically that's how you train for it. You learn to throw the side kick from a punching stance. And for people that are concerned specifically about the street situations or self-defense situations, for instance, you throw a palm strike on the street, you can go to that side kick, to the knee, and then come back. Okay? Or throw maybe multiple side kicks, putting the leg down, not putting the leg down, and then come back. And the last thing is expectations. Whenever you come in with a surprise technique that your opponent does not expect, once again, on the street, in a ring, you never know if someone on the street is trained or not. Most people expect from up close, you're going to punch, you're going to follow up with a roundhouse kick, front leg, straight or shuffle, or you're going to punch and you're going to follow up with a rear leg roundhouse kick. Very often people do not expect that you're going to throw multiple punches and then throw a side kick right from there. Okay, so just that, if it's not in their game plan, let's say you're in the ring, it's not in their game plan, they keep getting hit with that side kick that they don't expect, after a while, throwing a couple of punches, going like this, something's going to happen. They're going to drop their hand, they're going to move back, and that's going to give you an opportunity either to take them down or to throw another strike or to create another opening. Okay? So it's always good to be able to do something that's not usually done. Okay? Thank you for watching. I have to keep spinning. Good today. Outside. We'll go this way. Good. side.